How we doing?
Back at it again with In My Trauma podcast.
Back like we never left.
We've been in and out due to the holidays and life's goings on,
You
but
know,
we always come back.
trying to make progress with ourselves
Right. Exactly.
and with others.
Exactly. Exactly that. How you been?
I've been great. All things considered. You hate to say you've been great when, the world's on fire. But,
Right, yeah. We haven't really checked it, I don't think, since that.
But I personally feel okay,
Yeah.
apart from like the existential dread. But
Yeah.
my immediate life, things are pretty solid. I just took 2 weeks off from work. Hung out with mom and dad for a couple weeks. Like, life is good.
We're blessed.
We are blessed, very blessed.
We're blessed.
I might have olives in this tree. There's another flowering tree back here that we didn't know about.
Yeah, you all missed it. Hakeem was just standing under his tree asking me, and I guess the world, what this plant is, what this fruit is that's growing from the tree. I don't know. I'm no horticulturalist.
Yeah,
That's been your vibe
that has been my vibe lately.
with so much growing from your land.
But yeah, I can't complain. Weather's great.
Weather's good, yeah.
The Gladiator 2 came out. We got to see Denzel.
That's true.
Anytime we can see Denzel on the screen, we're blessed.
For sure. I will say I saw Wicked. It was as good as advertised. It was really good. Do you remember we saw that live at the Kennedy Center?
I do. I remember being very upset that I had to go see that.
I feel like that's not how I remember it.
Really?
I felt like you had a generally positive vibe as we were walking out. You were like, "Oh, that was a good musical."
I don't recall much of it, to be honest.
I think the general sentiment was like, "Oh, that was actually good."
I stayed awake the whole time?
I think you stayed away for most of it.
Okay.
It was long. It was long. It was like 2 hours 40 minutes.
I've had enough people tell me that I should go see it, that I might, but I just don't love musicals.
I mean, I did a matinee, which was quite nice. I think also, so I told you they sang live for the recording. I think sometimes what gets me about movie musicals is like knowing that it's dubbed. It feels less impressive and less like an actual musical. The like artistry was there. And they clearly were very passionate about it. I was just watching the director talk about the attention to like sounds, that he was really careful to capture like the sound of their steps and like all these really little things.
Okay.
But they all seem to really care about the story, which is cool. It is just a very good story, very timely. Not to spoil Wicked, but I feel like if you don't know the story of Wicked by now, like... And it's also only part one. I realized I went into it completely blind. Like, every time something happened, I was like, oh. Like, Bowen Yang is in it. Do you know who that is?
I have no idea who that is.
He's, the short of it, forgive me if this feels like flippant. He's the East Asian gay guy on SNL.
Oh, I couldn't, that doesn't ring any bells for me.
Well, if you turned on SNL, you'd be like, oh, that's Bowen Yang.
Got you. Is Keenan still on SNL?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Old Black Joe.
Ah! Old Black Joe is a portrait on display at the National Portrait Gallery. It's an old black man on a stool in a cotton field tied to a white child. Not funny, but a good pull nonetheless. Go check it out.
Is that not what Keenan's basically doing on that show at this point?
He is the old guy. He's the old black guy for sure.
Yeah.
If Michael Che's on there, he's getting up.
Yeah, but I don't think Michael Che is really doing skits, right? He just does the...
Yeah, he does the news update or whatever.
Yeah.
You're feeling like they don't have him in a skirt. Is that how you're feeling?
They didn't make him put on a fat suit and a dress.
He didn't go through the initiation, is how you feel. I kind of feel like I don't really fuck with Michael Che. He said enough off-color things, but
that's fair.
You know what?
I don't have a particular leaning on him.
Yeah. He said some weird stuff when Simone Biles took her mental health break. And
mental health is important.
Mental health is important.
As long as it's not disrupting capitalism. If you disrupt that paycheck, fuck your mental health.
Right. Right. I came with something on my heart today,
Mm.
in that I don't know why this keeps coming up. Maybe it's that I don't know if I've ever told you. One of my best friends, every time I point somebody out on social media, I'm like, "Oh, she's cute." My friend's like, "Yeah, but you wouldn't like her in real life."
Mm.
And the more I think about it, I just don't know how you date somebody who like.
I think there's a high correlation to that.
What do you mean?
High Instagram cuteness presence to is this person worth anything in real life?
Listen, I feel like Hakeem has a lot more in real life data on that than I do.
I'm in the field.
Right, yeah. For real.
Collecting data.
For real. But
Data or data? How do we feel on
tomato pronounced differently. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, for somebody making like life content, like babe, what do you mean you're on the internet scream crying to thousands of people about a disagreement we had? Like, what do you mean they're all in your comments telling you were right? Like how do you carry on a relationship with a person who, the more I think about it, the more because like there was one person who came up in particular who, like, I feel like I've seen her crying on TikTok at least 3 times.
Mhm.
And the last time she was like sharing her relationship with her followers, and all the commenters were like, "You should break up with him," which, like, they were right. It seemed like he
Mhm.
didn't like her very much. But
Uh-huh.
then she came back like crying and was like, "You all are leaving nasty comments telling him to kill himself." And I'm like, what?
That's what happens when you take things to the internet. That's what I've realized. That internet comments might be the worst representation of humanity.
No,
out there.
for real. Real.
And I love it. 'Cause people just, as soon as that
Hakeem as young cheesy, I love it.
that anonymity, people will just get any thought off and say anything behind an avatar of Chester Cheetah.
I also have seen a proliferation of like there being a misunderstanding and somebody like calling them out. It's always like, you're glazing, zero ball knowledge. Like
Zero ball knowledge.
There's like a
Brain rot. Did you
right.
see what they what was it? Webster? That was their like word of the year. Brain rot.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Ball knowledge could have been in there.
No. But I think brain rot is like the collective, all those just phrases collectively replacing people using actual language.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I'll see like a comment where somebody says something and they're wrong, and then somebody will be like, "Yeah, zero ball knowledge" or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, my bad, bro. Like, thanks for correcting me." And the other person will be like, "Yeah, no problem, bro. Like, it's hard on the internet." And I'm like, guys, just go outside. Like this is
It's outside dead, chat.
This is so stupid. Stop commenting on stuff.
I don't know. I think
You think
outside might be
Kai
dead.
Cenat killed outside.
He did. Kasanak killed outside. He wants everybody to sit where he's convinced everyone to just sit in front of a webcam.
I was watching a breakdown of the scandal on his live. Did you see that with the magician?
The guy, yeah.
Thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts. I feel like YouTubers have a history of things like that. Like Logan Paul went to the suicide forest
yeah.
and like kind of got canceled, but obviously isn't canceled because he's still around.
Still threatening to kill Mike Tyson.
Yes. I think that's there's a lot of things that suggest people who should be canceled can't really be canceled.
No, the only true cancellation is jail. I've been saying that for...
True. And even then, you might not fully be canceled because they're still saying Diddy's having a ball in jail.
Oh my
Why do
God.
you keep hearing that Diddy is having fun in jail? Who is getting that information? Who is spreading that information? Like, why do I know that? Why is Dad asking me about that?
I will say it does sound like an environment that he would thrive in, and I don't say that lightly. I think it's unfortunate, but all things considered, and you know the way I'm saying it, it's not the obvious way. It seems like he would have his way in jail, is all I'm saying. Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Jack?
I have no comment.
a place where a lawless place
A lawless place.
that is dictated by what you can provide to people on the outside, power, money. I don't,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
deviancy.
I feel like this is a Boondocks episode.
It's the booty snatcher.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. But it's almost like modern day. It would be too on the nose.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's why
They didn't bring it back.
well, there were lots of reasons.
I thought it was John Witherspoon
Witherspoon passing. I don't know if because the funny thing too is the studio associated with the Boondocks had like a big leak within the last 5 years where it was revealed that they were like saying execs were just saying blatantly racist things, and I know they call
Welcome to America.
right. They call but you can't say it out loud. You can't say it. You can't be revealed. I guess as far as the thought is maybe Aaron Magruder had a spine relative to that as well, and was like, "Oh, we're not gonna."
He pulled a Dave Chappelle, of sorts.
Of sorts, yeah, maybe. But because Black Mirror took a long time off, and I wondered if it was because reality was just so wonky. But they're coming back, so
They are.
I do feel like if anyone was going to fade out into anonymity, though, it would be Aaron Magruder.
Black Mirror really just threw me off with that first episode, having that man.
Fuck a pig.
Yeah, that was a little too much.
Spoiler
It was
alert.
a little too much for me.
It was crazy, but sometimes you gotta
You gotta shock
shake
the
shit
people.
up. Yeah, they let you know what type of time they were on.
Yeah, and that's not the type of time I like to be on when I watch television. Give me something lighthearted, unless I watch a dark movie. I watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest yesterday. Much darker than I remembered it being last time I watched it.
Oh yeah, that's when you returned to. Definitely, I feel like the first time I heard about that was through you.
Yeah, that one. I think it probably is one of those ones I watched on cable at some point and never saw the actual full version of the movie.
That's
But
like,
that movie is dark.
That's like whatever Biggie song it was that I had only heard the edited version of, and I was like, oh, this is like a fine time. And then Hakeem played it for me one day on the way to school in the 8th grade, and I was like, this is not how I want to start my day. Chat, should you be listening to just violence and
That's just teen angst. That's all that was. I was having teen angst. Tiana hadn't gotten there yet. She was still in middle school.
riding through Adams Morgan like, please turn this off. I want to have a good day.
Make it a bad day. Fuck that. Make it a bad day.
I did. So two things. For whatever reason, the booty snatcher came up on my Instagram recently, and
The
talk
Boondocks
about
clip
the Boondocks
or the
clip,
real person?
both of them.
Mm.
It was a post.
Fleece
about,
Johnson.
right? Exactly. It was a post about, and the comments were unsettling, reporting on his goings on, even outside of. Which you have to imagine is.
I mean, I don't feel like that person is possible to rehabilitate. To be
For-
completely
I mean,
honest.
that's what the comments would say. That is what the comments would say.
How do we feel about outlawing slavery, Chad? In the prison system specifically. Is that too out of left field? Atopical?
I would hope that we're all on the same page. Just 'cause-
Clearly, the state of California is.
well, yeah, we're not. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that one through before I said it. Yeah, outlaw slavery.
Yeah.
Maybe that might be trite. But...
apart from Fleece Johnson, maybe.
No, I'm saying. Well, my thing would be you could throw them in there and not have them work. Just stare at a wall.
I agree with that. That's my thought.
Yeah.
I think people take the punishment aspect a little too far. It's like you already cut them off from the rest of society.
Staring at a wall is going to get real dark.
Exactly. Does the man need to make license plates for 1/10 of a cent?
I would say no. I would say
agree.
not.
I agree.
Yeah, those who can't be rehabilitated need to stare at a wall.
Mm.
Think about what you've done.
Or if we're gonna take it there, do we go the dystopian route, like A Clockwork Orange, and just start
You've brought this up a couple times. We're gonna get
Because
away
it's kind
from
of relevant.
we're gonna get away from this topic, but it ain't good. And I did the one you come back to. I brought it up to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Well, we tried that before. They used it against gay men."
Did they
And-
really?
Yeah, in the UK, if you ever watched the movie Imitation Game, the guy who came
Yeah.
up, he that happened to him.
They chemically castrated him?
Yeah,
Oh, fuck.
for being gay. So, you know.
All right, well, yeah. That's off the table.
Yeah, yep. Getting back to higher ground. Wicked. How you feeling about Future? That used to be your boy.
Future?
Is he still your?
I mean, the Apple Music recap thing came out this
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple days ago, and he definitely was my most played artist.
Mine was Beyonce. Chat.
His two albums that came out were my two most played albums, and Hendrix was number 6.
Mine was Beyonce, Bryson Tiller. I really like that most recent album. Stevie Wonder, Janet Jackson, and somebody else I'm forgetting.
I think I had Future and Metro Boomin were 1 and 2, just because of those joint albums. I think third was Bryson Tiller. Fourth was Kendrick. Fifth was Steve Lacy.
Ah, sick.
Yeah.
Shout out Steve Lacy.
Mm-hmm.
Fragile Op. You ate that. Yeah, I like Steve Lacy. Cut the top off. Cut the hair off.
Mm-hmm.
How do you? Well, I was gonna. You've been in your no hair era for a while, but
Yeah.
they say that that's some big change is about to happen. I say
When you cut your hair, what,
When
just
you-
like male pattern baldness? That's a big
no.
change.
I mean, like you're about to. Do you think hair can hold weight? Can keep you in a certain state
You know,
of
what do they
being?
say? It's like what technically hair is nerve endings, right?
Oh, okay.
Or is that not what follicles are? I could be wrong.
I believe it.
So I think that's why a lot of the religions where it's like don't cut your hair, it's because it's like a part of your nervous system. That's what they believe.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's some southern traditions, they burn their hair after they cut it, but I think that has also to do with like nobody putting a spell on you
Interesting.
using your hair.
I mean, if I could have a nice, a nice head of hair, I don't know that I would these days.
Yeah.
I like the baldness. What I will say is I just wish that the rest of my hair that still grows in would stop growing. And I didn't have to shave my head every few days. This would make life a little more convenient. I think I technically could go get it lasered off, but I feel like then you run the risk of like part of your head looks a different color.
And who needs that?
Yeah, who needs that?
Yeah. I told you I figured out how to cut my hair.
Mm-hmm.
Did I tell you that it felt like the first time I shot a gun?
With cutting your own hair?
Yeah, the first time I cut my own hair.
That's wild.
Yeah, I got really scared after I made the first cut, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's essentially how I felt when I shot a bullet out of a gun for the first time. I was like, I just want to put this down. But then I remembered you have to empty the clip.
I got
Always
so many.
empty the clip.
Always. I got so many bad haircuts in college that I feel like I just had no fear when I started cutting my own hair. People were fucking my hairline up in college badly. There was a guy in a barbershop that I went to, I think like my first year or two. I didn't go to him. I went to that barbershop, but I went to him like the first time I got cut. And he had to have been drunk because he moved my hairline like a full inch this way on one side. And I was like, I looked in the mirror. I was like, what the fuck is this? And he was like, oh, like it's not good. I was like, bro, like shave my head. Just cut the rest of my hair off.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I never went to him again, but I did find another guy in that shop who could cut a decent head of hair.
That's fascinating. I mean, no tea, no shade. I do remember looking at your hair sometimes when you came back, or like when I saw you and being like, what's going on? Because I feel like
I mean, it was also, I was going bald.
she still, you still had something to work with. I think
I didn't have someone styling my hair properly, giving the right haircut for my head and hairline. I should have been going with like a South Dallas shag, just hair only off the back, and keep the up front cut low. That would have worked for me in college.
Looking like fucking Bobby Brown in New Edition.
Yeah, that would have worked for
Oh
me.
my gosh.
But we live and we learn.
Yeah. I mean, that's something to me. I feel like, because I don't know, something like cutting hair, I get that there's an art to it, but also it's so big in the black community and there are black people everywhere, at least in the U.S., and especially when there's like...
I mean, New Haven was a very black city. It's
I mean,
not like
yeah.
there was no lack of barbers.
Oh, okay, you were just going to a bad one.
I had to, no, I only went to him once. I was,
Okay, and then you got it.
you first get there, you gotta bumps and bruises. You're in a new city.
You kind of get a lay of the
Yeah,
land.
exactly.
Okay. All right.
I tried cutting my own hair. I let some random freshman cut my hair. You try things.
You live and you learn. It's all part of your lore.
You just let your hair grow out at one point. Like, you know what? I'm not getting haircuts anymore.
Keem with straight backs would have gone crazy.
I don't think my hair would have gotten that long. I don't think I was taking care of my hair enough for it to grow past a certain length. I think it just got to a certain point and then was like, we don't have the strength to keep going.
Look like you have a Tyler Perry wig on.
Exactly. I could get off like a short afro that was fading slightly here. That was about it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I think if I had hair today, I would just go with free forms. Just really.
Yeah. Get some wicks.
Exactly.
It's crazy. You think Jay-Z's hair is real?
That's a good question. I think it's probably dyed.
Okay, yeah.
But I have no reason to think it's not real.
He has some good hair genes at that. Because he's what, 54?
He's that old?
I think so. Chad,
Damn.
how old is she?
Fuck. How old is Beyonce?
Beyonce's 40. I think.
Interesting.
I think she's 40.
Hmm.
Born in 1980. Oh, geez, 1984 to be 40. She's performing at the Texans Ravens game on Christmas Day.
I feel like she's. I guess that's.
I think she's going to announce something.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that feels a little beneath Beyonce.
It does, but I guess she's already done the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
At
but like
least-
Christmas Day, that's like a Dolly Parton thing.
Well,
That's like
yeah, I mean, but she's
get an old person. To do it. She's
Well-
taking an old person's job.
Young people in old fields. Have you seen these women in male fields?
Yeah.
But they're saying she's gonna have special guests. Dolly Parton was on her country album, as was Willie Nelson. I could see her bringing out either of them, but I think she'll announce a tour.
Interesting.
Which it's interesting. This album, I believe, is the most nominated album of all time. They're gonna do some sideways shit and give her like
The
0
Cowboy
award.
Carter album?
Yeah,
I haven't listened to any songs.
they're gonna give her like 0.
I do like that Not Like Us got nominated for Song of the Year.
As it should. If the song is everywhere in that fashion, I feel like and it might win. Probably has a chance.
I don't know any of the other songs that are nominated.
Yeah, I think Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter, and I don't know what else.
Yeah. I'm unfamiliar.
But yeah, my quiet as it's kept. Cowboy Carter was by far not my like favorite Beyonce album, but I think because it was like her reclaiming country, which is solid.
I gotta be honest with you, I haven't listened to a single song.
You said that like a minute and a half ago, bro.
Oh, my bad.
It's all good, but all that to say, I think it's interesting that it's all super nominated and people are like, this is so good. This is music, and it's like, it's cool. It's cool. I like some of the songs. I like some of the Gaga songs. What the fuck does she know about cameras? But I'm hoping Beyonce wins. She deserves it. She deserves a big win.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll produce an album, maybe win a Grammy
Yeah, why not?
in my third act.
Did you see Billboard named Beyonce number one pop star of the 2000s, and
I don't know
Taylor,
who else it would be.
right, and Taylor Swift is number two. And so I go in and out of TikTok, but when the times that I've been on it recently, it'll be like a video with like Beyonce performing this year compared with Taylor Swift, like doing whatever it is she does. And then all the comments.
He's up there strutting that ass.
Like just like doing bullshit. Like honest to God, if I paid money for that and she was up there, I'd get mad. I would get mad. But then it's all these comments of her fans being like, "Yeah, but Beyonce is only known in the U.S. Taylor Swift is known globally," which is, I've decided. I think also with what you said about the comment section just being like a cesspool and you can't take it seriously, and just people saying stuff. Because also one thing that has been difficult to avoid on my TikTok is like not non-American Black people. So you know,
the others, as we call
right,
them.
the others. Not
We don't actually call them.
Right. Not descended from enslaved people being like American Black people don't have culture.
Uh-huh.
And I said it to a non-Black person and they started laughing. And they're a person with a heart that I know they wouldn't be like laughing at my being upset. And so then I thought again about it and I was like, oh yeah, that is like a laughable statement that Black Americans don't have culture when like we're damn near the only culture like with regard to popular culture, like it is literally Black culture. And so I think my new approach is just going to be laughing.
Mm-hmm. You could hit the Dr. Umar. You know what that phrase is?
What is it?
We need an insane asylum for raccoons like you. We need an insane asylum for raccoons like you.
You have to say it 3 times.
We need an insane asylum for raccoons like you. I was talking to my friend the other day, and I told him that quote. He thought he didn't know that coons was short for raccoons.
That's wild.
Yeah. That's why we need to get CRT back in the schools.
We do need to
not back in the schools, just in the schools.
In the schools. Because I was feeling like, yeah, they're really doing a good job of like, not a good job, I don't want to call it. They're doing an effective job of oppressing the masses and keeping people divided. Because I feel like if everybody knew the history of Black people in this country.
Did I ever tell you about the class we had in college called Formations of Modern American Culture?
No.
It was kind of like a sociology class meets a history class. And that was basically what it was. It was just this white guy being like, yeah, so pretty much all the way that things are right now is because Black people were oppressed and because the poor are oppressed. And that's why most of our structures today operate the way they do. And it was a cool class, and I think a lot of people took it because it was kind of like an easy A. But it was probably one of the most informative classes, I think, that was offered at the school. And I think that needs to be offered everywhere.
Absolutely. Because there's a clip of Gil Scott-Heron talking about how he felt that the Black Americans were the only true Americans.
That's bold.
And his reason...
Are the Native Americans not in there?
With a grain of salt. Shout out to Native American people. I'm not saying he was right in that sentiment. But his idea was that we are the only group of people who have taken it from enslavement to the present day through the justice system. And every right that we have won has been,
it gets expanded to everybody else.
Right, and it's 2 parts. It's in the it's in the courts, and it's with unfortunately bloodshed and like which I was like, us and Native Americans together. Because I think when you talk about indigenous Americans, Black Americans and American Indians are like together there. But I thought it was an interesting sentiment, and I was like, yeah, no other group has a history in that way in this country.
Yeah. And that's what they want you to believe. That's how they keep us separated.
to keep us separated. Look up Fannie Lou Hamer.
Right.
Yeah. I looked her up recently just to make sure I knew my was on my
You
P's
gotta
and
stay.
Q's.
Gotta stay up on your freedom fighters.
You're right. Make sure I was on my P's and Q's.
I got those Black Arts ABCs flashcards in there. I just break out every once in a while.
Hell yeah. I was thinking about that it's important to make Black media, because in my Fannie Lou Hamer brush up, there was a reference to the fact, I believe it was when she was speaking on the floor of the Democratic National Convention, but they made up a reason to cut away.
Oh yeah.
To Lyndon B. Johnson, I think it was. And even before that, when Black people would appear on screen, they used to just cut to black.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on this show, and I think that the more that I work on it, the clearer I am about I don't really feel like a creative work is worth me making or putting my energy into if it doesn't center Black people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been interesting becoming more rooted in that. But it's an intention you have to have, I think, especially with conversations I've heard around. I mean, that's with anything though. If you go in with not a good enough idea of what you want to make, then I think you're susceptible to just succumbing to whatever suggestion or addition anybody wants to throw out.
Yeah. You got to have a clear vision of what you want, I think, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That's becoming clearer and clearer to me now.
Yeah.
And because I think too,
it could just be a leaf in the wind, kind of just blow around. Nothing wrong with that. I feel like sometimes that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing that somewhat intentionally.
Then you end up on the ground, stepped on.
Or you end up on top of a mountain.
I'm not going to leave it up to chance is my thing. I'm not going to play that numbers game.
That's fair. That's fair.
I thought... Again, speaks to Hakeem said I needed to get on so I could put him on as a producer. So he could just tell creatives that's never gonna work.
I'm trying to suck the life out of the art.
I'm
trying to wring it dry.
I feel like our relative responses to the metaphor you just gave point to where we fall in that conversation. You just, I'll go wherever the wind takes me. I'll be okay with it.
I'll put my 10 toes down. Just make it work.
Make the best of it. I feel like there are hella quotes about what is it? If you're in response to you saying you just be like a leaf in the wind. There's a if you're quiet about your pain, they'll basically they'll write the story and say that you enjoyed it.
Oh, okay.
I think that's Zora Neale Hurston. There's an Audre Lorde. If I if I didn't define myself for myself, I'd be crumpled up in other people's definitions of me. These are all paraphrases, but I'll put the correct quote in there. a lot of good quotes about being intentional about how you define yourself. Hell yeah.
I think that is different from what I was saying.
You're saying relative to your work?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
But if your creative work, I mean, I guess that's the distinction between creative work and work that is.
Yeah, we do different things.
Right,
I hook ads. I get people to download
Hakeem's
little
Don
phone
Draper.
games.
That'll be your third act. You just go do ayahuasca in the desert.
Is that what Don Draper did?
Yeah, and then he comes up with the Give the World a Coke ad. That's how the show ends. He goes and does drugs.
I knew didn't want to watch that show. I watched 2 episodes and I was like, this fucking sucks.
It was a wild ride. I enjoyed Mad Men. I enjoyed it when I watched it.
That's my everyday life. I don't need that.
Yeah. It's making sausage at the factory and then going home and watching it get made. It's a little bit cannibalistic.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Not cannibalistic. Guys, I'm just talking.
Hey, we know what you mean.
Let's see. Any movies coming up you want to catch?
No, I'm really into the old movie right now. Just the old 19 like the
Like
19
old movies?
No, anything from 1970 to 19
Okay.
let's call it 97.
Okay.
I watched a movie the other day with Billy Bob Thornton and just a random array of other characters. But basically, they pulled off a heist. From what I can tell, there were just a lot of movies coming out in the 90s where there was like a heist happens at the beginning or somebody commits a crime. And then it's like, well, how bad can we make this person's day after this crime? So it's just 24-hour story of this person. Every single thing that could go wrong goes wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been watching a few of those. I watched one like that with Sean Penn and J-Lo.
Sean Penn and Billy Bob Thornton are kind of like a different font of the same guy to me.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You ever seen A Dog Day Afternoon?
No.
You'd like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ahead of its time. Based loosely on a real story. A guy, I think it's Pacino. He and somebody else rob a bank, take hostages, and the police are outside in a standoff throughout the movie trying to get them to come out. His trans wife comes forward. He has a sister.
What year is this from?
Like the 70s. That's what I'm saying,
Oh, wow.
ahead of its time. And he has a cisgender wife at home, a legal wife, but documentation says that he also married this trans woman
Yeah.
character. And I believe in real life, the man had a trans woman lover. I've been trying.
That's based on a true story?
Based on a true story.
Oh.
Forgive me for saying trans so much. I saw a headline. I saw a headline that was like Pedro Pascal at film premiere with trans sister. Like that was the that, and it was on like a reputable. It was like a pretty big publication, and I was like, I don't know if this is how, if this is what we're trying to do. That it felt like a step in the wrong direction. And then a few of the comments were like, how about just his sister?
Yeah.
Like, trans sister was crazy to me. So
Yeah.
not trying to do that, Chad. Not trying to be that person. But Dog Day Afternoon is interesting.
Okay.
I also saw a video I meant to bring up on my on my Instagram that said so the year that Jack Nicholson was filming One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he won like Best Actor at the Oscars, but did his acceptance speech from set, like, and they were shooting on location in like upstate New York or something, and in character. So like it's shot in like the common room
Yeah.
of him like talking like very weirdly to camera, and like Danny DeVito's beside him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, people don't do gags like that anymore.
So when I watched it the other day, I knew Danny DeVito was in the movie, and it took me a good hour and a half to be like, that's Danny DeVito, because he looks so different, not as like 75 years old. There's a scene where he is like zoomed out and he walks in the frame, and I was like, who is that tiny person?
I like how every person who's ever like encountered him, the thing is like he's so small. He's physically so small.
Yeah, that movie is insane.
Yeah, historically, this country has not treated people with mental illness as well.
Not at all. Big issue in California. That's why we have a lot of the homeless issue
Oh,
that we have here. They defunded all of the mental health institutions. I believe Reagan did that as governor.
yeah. This state has a problem of electing actors to and people they think
You
are
gotta figure
attractive.
it's the biggest industry here. Those
Yeah.
are the people who are going to get the most money behind them.
Can't tell you how many posts I saw about how Gavin Newsom should be the next Democratic nominee because he's attractive and like California's doing well. I was like,
At this
you
rate, it
fucking
feels
jabronis.
like the guy who I went to college with is on track to do that. I'm hearing a lot of that same conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They're just going to keep going back to the old song and dance.
Which is why I said I do think black women should pack up and just let the Democratic Party figure it out. I don't see why we should keep being their most consistent voter base. I saw a post that said, it was a white guy talking to camera. He was like, does anyone ever question like when white people stop voting for Democrats? And he gave us one. He was like, nobody went and looked it up. Do you know when it was?
When white people stopped voting for Democrats?
Yeah, majority.
My gut makes me want to say Obama, but I feel like it's before then. I'm gonna say probably around Nixon.
He said it was literally immediately after they passed the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah, I think that's Nixon.
So when they gave black people the right to vote, they were like
65.
Yeah, just about. From then on, the Democrats have never won. They don't win the white people. And they were like, how fucking dare you give black people the right to vote?
Well, no, voting rights act is Kennedy, isn't it?
Whatever it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
He said it was post Voting Rights Act.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not surprised. You know how they are.
What do you mean we can't oppress people? Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Well, I guess the question then becomes, because I just don't see a scenario where a third party actually emerges in America.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, but it just doesn't feel feasible to me to be their most consistent voting demographic.
All right, so let's think big. If you because I have a thought on this. If there was one single thing that you think people like one collective action people could take that would fundamentally change how things are right now, what do you think it would be?
I think it's worker strike.
I agree. Okay.
Yeah.
You would have to organize some massive mass scale.
I mean, and as far as theory is concerned, all fingers point to the working class rising up.
Yeah.
And that is why they say they killed MLK. It seemed very apparent, he was about to unite the working class. He stopped talking to just black people and was like, hey, you're being oppressed too. And they said bang bang.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's why they didn't let Bernie win.
Yeah.
I think I saw a video where they were talking about if you don't allow some level of socialism to creep in, then you get to neoliberalism, which is what we have, where it's like fake liberalism and then it's kind of just trending more towards fascism than towards democracy.
Say more about how fake liberalism is trending towards fascism.
So neoliberalism, the idea that like we have a right and a left, but like the left is not the left.
Actually the left.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds about right. Cause I'm like, I think one thing that came up, I was thinking back on how the last time that Trump was elected, I was in college and two of my white professors canceled class the next day, like teary-eyed, and were like, I just can't teach.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think back on that, I'm like, that kind of feels like not one-to-one, but it kind of gives me the feeling of like everybody getting Juneteenth off, where I'm just like, what are you really crying about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. But one thing that came up in my Baldwin class was that it's an issue that in an academic space, people were feeling compelled to engage with the thinking on the right and the thinking on the left as if the two were equal. Like equally credible and both deserving of being like engaged with on like an intellectual level. And I was like, yeah, like a lot of these arguments from Trump camp are just inflammatory, like language. It's not like actual thought or
No.
theory, but and I hear people a lot talking about how like there's extremism on the left as well. And I'm wondering, are they talking about like who are they talking about?
I think their idea is Antifa, which isn't
Right.
which isn't like an actual
Yeah.
body. It's not like a it's just like you don't like fascism.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
I want more specificity when people are like extreme on the left too. Like, who are you talking about?
Yeah. I saw a TikTok video today where it was a white guy, basically saying he was like, I think it's interesting that this group of young white males who feel like they're being alienated and oppressed, their response is to basically just like go inward and become more like selfish and hateful. And then he was like, but then you look at like the black men in the 60s, their response to like feeling alienated was like the Black Panther Party and like feeding people. And I just commented and I was like, these are two fundamentally different things. I get what you're trying to do here. You're trying to make like a like what's wrong with white people point, but like you just look like an idiot. Like this isn't the intellectual stance you think it is. One group was being like oppressed and criminalized, like your existence is criminalized.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to adapt to survive. One group is
Also, it's just like
is facing a fake enemy.
Also, it's fake history to
Exactly.
refer to the Black Panther Party as like a male group. Like,
Yes, exactly.
there are a few flaws.
It was a lot wrong with
What
it.
he said.
So yeah, I made sure to go in and comment and just be like, you should stop talking.
You should delete this.
Stop talking on these subjects. Stick to what you know. Stick to mayonnaise sandwiches.
Which is maybe full circle to where we began. Because, babe, why are you talking to a front camera? I keep seeing people be like, yeah, just post your content. Maybe don't post your content. I don't know. Or like,
Yeah.
do what you want. But I saw a TikTok.
But I think ultimately that's the point, right? That's why the comments should be as terrible as they are, right? Because I think if you are so dim-witted and like lacks self-awareness that you will put something on the internet that makes you look like that, then like whatever somebody says to you is fair game, in my opinion. Like that's the internet is the internet for a reason. You put it out there for people to view and consume and interact with. If you want to portray yourself as a jackass, you can do it. I'm not going to stop you. I think it's ultimately people just have to have better discernment to be like, oh, this person is full of shit, or this is actually something I should invest my time in and listen to. Because that's something I've been hearing a lot of, or around the election, post-election, there was a lot of the idea that all the top like podcasts right now are like conservative leaning, and like there's no like big liberal leaning podcasts. That's why, the younger male vote went that way. And I was like, is that really what's going to save us?
Podcast?
Yeah, right. That sounds like a psyop. That sounds like.
I also saw a lot of people being like, Kamala Harris camp reached out to me and tried to pay me for my support, but like I can't be bought. And
loser.
XYZ and like calling out content creators who did support her and took the checks. They were like, you haven't talked about politics at all, and here you are supporting Kamala. I don't know.
This is mildly unrelated, but it made me think of a tweet that goes viral like every year.
Uh-huh.
And a bunch of people like to repost it, call it a cultural reset. It was this woman tweeted in quotes, "Ew, she's fucking the weed man for weed." And then it was attributed to a bitch fucking the text man for text. And that might be the best tweet ever.
Yeah. No, you ate with that. Wherever you are. You ate with that. No, yeah. Somebody was talking about how like there are a few tweets that kind of make it worthwhile, which sucks because it's just turned into a dumpster fire of a platform, and you could probably say that about any form of social media. But I think they were saying it specifically about the person who described Ellen DeGeneres as an apex predator.
Yeah.
I'll put the tweet up in this. But yeah, like that person is doing like sociology, like I feel like grad school level sociology.
In 180 characters.
Yeah, in 180 characters or less, which is pretty amazing. And I like stuff like that. I'm like, I don't know if the smartest person, like if the dumbest person in the world should have ever been able to have that much access to like the top tier of smart people. It's also like really unattractive people having access to like really attractive, like
Like you saying it fucks up your brain chemistry?
it fucks
It's
up
like
your
you were
brain.
never supposed to be in that room.
Yeah, like
You opened a door that can never be closed. Now you're just waiting in a black pool staring off into the distance.
yeah, like I just like you were never supposed to have that much access, and I think like honest to God, like maybe that's a part of like the delusion around this like Beyonce Taylor Swift conversation, because like yeah, maybe y'all were never even supposed to know about. Maybe segregation was supposed to keep us like siloed off, so you never knew what Beyonce was like. Because how did we
You were
get
supposed
here?
to just hear about it. Somebody was supposed to have to sneak off into the other side of the town.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's this bitch over here doing witchcraft and has two French twins like waving through the sky on these giant platforms.
You over here got some guitar songs.
Yeah, and is moving her body like a snake. Honest to God, doing the hokey pokey on stage, doing the hokey pokey, and you want me to believe she's better than Beyonce? Bitch, get a grip.
I do think it's funny how whenever they do the Wrapped,
Yeah.
how many people's top artist is Taylor Swift, or Taylor Swift is in people's top artist, and I'm just like, I know I'll never pass you to aux. You will never be allowed to play any music around me.
I don't think I've heard a Taylor Swift song since Shake It Off.
Bad Blood is the
Oh, Bad Blood. Yeah, I've
That's
heard
the one
Bad
I know.
Blood. But like Cruel Summer is a song that apparently did well this year. Haven't heard it. Couldn't tell you. Like, couldn't identify it to you. I liked our song though. Don't get me wrong. When I was young, there were a couple that I liked. But yeah, today I could not tell you.
She makes music for white women who black out on gin martinis.
White women who do ketamine.
Is that not Charlie XCX?
No, that is. They're having a brat. They're having a brat winter right now. I do feel like she might hang with Charlie XCX though. She hangs with everybody.
She was hanging with Ice Spice at the Super Bowl.
Ice Spice had a generational fall off. You got to check in with your friend who was saying
I mean, we kind of knew that fall off was gonna come.
Did
Is Central C not suffering from the same fall
I don't
off?
think he is. He
No?
he had Band for Band do really well. Central C's still doing really well.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Um,
Man, I'm just assuming light skinned people are
No,
over.
that's what
I
I
just
was
assumed, I just
about-
assumed it was over.
I was about to bring it up because I was like, I don't know how much time he has. Do you know you have 30 minutes? Yes, 30. 30. I saw somebody on the internet try and tell the world that New York is a Rockefeller, and I was like, we got to turn the whole. We got to
New York of Flavor of Love.
tried to tell the whole internet she was like this person was like, yeah, I looked her up and her last name is Rockefeller. I was like, we have to shut the whole internet down. We literally have to turn it off. But this is what I mean. That
Somebody needs to
person,
drive a spear into the central computer.
that person can like get on the internet and talk to a smart person. They can call.
You see, I don't like to purport the Joe Rogan podcast or make anybody think that I'm a regular watcher. But I did see the clip of him having Terrence Howard on there talking to an actual math PhD
I didn't see that.
about the math that he was trying to come up. If you want a good laugh, that is the best example of a really smart person talking to somebody who has no fucking clue what they're talking about. And is fun to watch. So. But yeah, I get what you're saying. The internet it's opened a lot of wormholes that were never supposed to get open. Maybe that's why people think we're in a simulation.
So before we get out of here, Shout out to all the African countries that are banishing colonizers. Get France the fuck up out of there. Get all of those foreign European forces. Get them out of there.
Mm-hmm.
I pray that your people are safe and you know, and that people in power are moving in the right direction and not abusing power.
Mm-hmm.
But getting Europeans out of the African continent feels like a net positive.
I agree.
And I was thinking about this because I was hearing somebody talk about Grenada, which is where Audre Lorde's parents were from, I believe. And they were saying that she did a good amount of writing on Grenada. But when Grenada pushed the colonizers out, they started an Each One Teach One, which was literally educated neighbors teaching their uneducated next door neighbor, and it created like an insane shift in their population. But then of course I think it was the US put a bunch of sanctions on them and tried to destroy any progress that they made. So and I will say that is the comparison to what we have on the internet. People in community, your next door neighbor, sure. If you happen to live beside them and you can have real conversation, that's when people should be lifting one another up from, different levels of education. But what we have on the internet, that shit ain't working.
I agree. Unless you've been taught how to like deal with different, subject matter and discern when something is possibly true or possibly just somebody making something up. That's the biggest difference. If you can't tell that, then the internet is a dangerous thing. Action.
Thanks for checking in with us. We'll be back real soon. Where life is about to get probably more predictable, or maybe not. Live fast.
Live fast, buy young, bad girls, do it well.
You know the vibes. In My Trauma Podcast. Stay dangerous.